Developers have to anticipate a lot when they're making a game, but sometimes you can tell they know their audience a little too well. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on gameranx, 10 times video games knew what you were trying to do. Starting off with number 10, we're talking about Horizon Call of the Mountain and creeping out, or maybe creeping on, Aloy. So you put a VR headset on somebody, they're going to want to do stupid stuff. That's inevitable. It's just what happens. Like, that's pretty much what VR headsets are for, right? Doing things that you can't do in real life, often with good reasons. It's just what you're inclined to do as a gamer, right? So when they make a VR game and give us the opportunity to share a scene with the main character from the Horizon games, of course players aren't just going to sit still. They're going to be a nuisance. In this situation, Aloy reacts kind of realistically, although she does continue the scene that she is acting out, which is, I think, pretty funny. Like, Aloy's talking to you and, frankly, giving you dirty looks. Not pleasant ones either. You may really just be trying to be a nuisance. And Aloy definitely acts annoyed. To me, the funniest thing, though, is just that Aloy just really tries to plow through this conversation. Doesn't comment on it in any way, which would be funny. But to me, it's like extra funny to not have any comment on it.
Machines don't attack servants.
Tell that to the dead.
It's a pretty believable animation in reaction to your grabby little VR hands, which of course makes you want to do it more. Being a pest is what you do in a VR game. Like, you're just supposed to stand around quietly and wait. Listen to something someone's saying when I can, like, try to poke them in the eye or something? No, absolutely not. At number 9 is Fallout 4's last voyage of the USS Constitution. Normally, the climax of the side quest, the last voyage of the USS Constitution, ends with a ship rocketing into the city skyline for a little while before crashing directly into a tower. While this happens, it's a cutscene. You're pretty much locked in. Gotta sit and watch it. The story ends there if you're playing on consoles, but on PC, it's relatively easy to regain controls. Just pop open the console and type enable player controls, and you're free to jump on the Constitution as it flies away. What's kind of impressive about this is you can actually stand on the ship. A lot of games would make it so it's not a physical object anymore, and you just fall through it, like Bethesda games, for instance. Starfield has a lot of falling through ships and stuff, but I have a feeling that they knew what this was going to be. They had to have known people were going to try this, is all I'm saying. Because the boat smashes in the building, and you die. Even if you got God mode switched on, if you're on that ship when it hits the building, you're dead. I don't know if it's a quirk in the creation engine that caused you to die in the crash, but whatever. I didn't think you'd be able to stand on the ship while it was flying at all, so respect to Bethesda for making any of it possible. Totally pointless and something very few people are ever likely to see, but it works. And number 8 is the blood shower in Baldur's Gate 3. Basically, Little Details is the name of the game with Baldur's Gate 3. So there's a lot of random interactions and events that are going to pop up. They're really easy to miss, but they're super rewarding for the players who think to do them. This is the perfect example of that sort of thing. In Act 2, underneath Moonrise Towers, there's a Mind Flayer colony deep underground where the Cult of the Absolute is doing some pretty nasty stuff. The place is so choked with blood and viscera, it's easy to miss this console next to a chute. Whenever you press the button, a shower of blood just comes pouring out of the tube with a mangled body that falls into the pile. This is, I think without saying, pretty gross. But the funny thing is you can keep doing it. That's when certain players get an idea, like in the way that the Grinch does, you know, smile and the hair part and all that. What if they put a stereo on there? In most games, you wouldn't get anything. It's just too specific of an interaction. But this game is made by crazy people. So, of course, there's a unique piece of dialogue if you do it. Asterion's a vampire, if you don't know. So he loves getting dumped with blood. He complains about it not being flesh, but overall, he approves of the experience.
Delightful. I prefer it fresh, but still, beggars, choosers, all that.
Some characters don't react at all, which might make you think that nothing happens, but our vampire buddy, and a few others, do react. Just one example out of hundreds of how interactive this crazy game is. And number 7 is Serious Sam 4 Siberian Mayhem. I hate switch puzzles. Like, don't you hate it in games when they arbitrarily force you to solve puzzles to progress? Like, do you think like a guy like Duke Nukem is going to stop and carefully work out the correct button combination to a door? No, that's the point in the story where he pivots and says, so anyway, I started blasting. But for a lot of games, it's just like, all right, well, now you got to do a puzzle. Feels really out of place and weird. Sometimes you just wish you could skip all this crap, but the games don't let you. Mow down these puzzles in a hail of bullets. Doesn't matter. They're pristine and perfect no matter how hard you try to blow them up. Except enter this expansion pack for Serious Sam 4. In level 3, you have to cross a bridge to continue, but oh no! You have to follow the electrical wires to a base and shut it down. You can either sit there and slowly solve this boring switch puzzle, or you do what we all wish we could do for puzzles like this, and we just shoot it. Shoot the screen and suddenly it all just works. The door opens, you're free to go.
Gave it my best shot.
Everyone's always shooting these stupid puzzles to show how much we hate them, but it never does anything. These guys knew their player base all too well. Nobody wants to solve puzzles in a Serious Sam game. They just want to shoot everything. And number 6 is Resident Evil 4, shooting Louise. A classic one. When you first meet Louise, he's kind of a sketchy dude, so most players' first reaction is to view him with distrust, or just straight up not like him. If you're in camp number 2, this is a no-brainer. Of course, you're going to shoot this guy, just to see what happens. In many games, killing an allied NPC is impossible, which is the case in this game's remake. You cannot shoot Louise in that version of the game, he just brushes off whatever you throw at him. In the original, though, he's not quite so accommodating. If you shoot him a few times, either by accident or on purpose, a cutscene starts where he reacts angrily to getting shot and pumps Leon full of lead, killing him.
Kill me? Adios, Leon.
The game knew what you were doing and punished you for it, at least if shooting him was intentional. The tough part about this segment is that it's actually pretty easy to hit Louise by mistake. Because of the cabin being so small, he is swarmed by so many enemies, it actually turns into a bit of a challenge to not shoot him. And number 5 is Halo Combat Evolved, killing the captain. In the early days of FPS games, literally all you could do was shoot things. Wolfenstein, Doom, Quake, there wasn't NPCs. Everything was a nail, you were a hammer, that was that. Took a long time for first-person shooters to grow out of that. And it wasn't just because they didn't think of it. There were technological barriers as well. Why not focus on the thing that makes the genre and shoot rather than other things that are technically very difficult to do at the moment? But then Duke Nukem and Half-Life happened. You could still kill most of the NPCs with zero repercussions, but there were NPCs. And then Halo was trying to do something with a little more story, and you had an entire army of allies. This was before games just forced you to lower their gun when friendlies were around, but at the same time, they knew players were going to shoot whatever they could the second they got an actual gun after the tutorial. Shooting things, obviously, what you do in an FPS. And this was even more true then than now, for reasons I just discussed. So of course, we all shot the captain dead right there.
What the hell are you doing?
Security to the bridge. The Master Chief has gone rampant. Take him down, boys.
Cortana would freak out and say that the Chief's gone rampant and your allies immediately become hostile. It's not just a funny thing they knew we would do, it's also an Easter egg. Gone rampant is a term for Bungie's marathon games, which is a term for when AI becomes self-aware and hostile. So shooting the captain wasn't just something they wanted to stop players from doing. They knew people were going to do it and figured they'd roll with it.
Stop them!
And number 4 is Doom 2016, not shooting Samuel. The Master Chief is expected to play nice, but the Doom Slayer is a whole other beast. In these games, you're just a tornado of destruction, smashing and stabbing and blowing up everything that stands in your way. One guy that's a constant nuisance is Samuel Hayden, the administrator of the Mars facility in Doom 2016. He's always telling you, don't do that, go here, do this thing, but not that thing. I told you not to do that thing. So everyone's first instinct when they meet the guy is to shoot him on sight. Let's be real here. He's a giant robot man with a sinister voice. Pretty obviously a bad guy. We're really just saving ourselves the trouble of dealing with him later by killing him now. But the game knew. The second you open the door to his office, he holds you in place to keep you from bashing his robot skull.
Do not be alarmed by the system update. It is a prototype of our interdimensional tether. A means for me to pull you back from hell. I'm sorry for the jolt, but I didn't think you'd allow its installation voluntarily. I'm Dr. Samuel Hayden. I have supplies in my office. This way, please.
And when he lets you go, it's only after he's safely behind an unbreakable glass wall.
The service elevator is at the end of the hall.
I feel like the Slayer probably could get through if he really wanted to, but the developers do not want us killing this guy yet, so we can't. Of course, he inevitably betrays you at the end of the game, but he's also sort of an ally in the sequel, and then in the DLC, everything gets really confusing, but who cares? All that matters with this is that this guy looks like a boss, so everybody's first instinct is to shoot him. The devs knew that's what we wanted to do, so they locked him up in a protective glass case. Like a toy. Come on, devs, toys are meant to be played with. And number 3 is the Elden Ring DLC, the ultimate evil trap. The Souls games sometimes seem like they know what we're doing long before we do them, but rather than using that power for good, they use it to make the most annoying traps imaginable. There's many examples I could use from the base game and beyond, but when one trap comes around, it sticks in my mind forever. It certainly sticks out when I'm thinking about this type of stuff. It's a simple but brutal one in the Fog Rift Catacombs. It's a mini dungeon with all the falling spike ceilings and stuff. Very average catacomb, but with one particularly devious trap. At a certain point, you come upon this huge open room with a wizard on the far end who shoots this extremely annoying spell at you. You approach the room knowing that there's a spike trap in the ceiling, because of course there is. You can't stand out in the open and get through though. That stupid wizard's just a little too far away to easily target, so you gotta deal with these powerful spells and the spikes falling from the ceiling onto your head at the same time. The only way to move forward is to take refuge in these little cubby holes to the left. So you run to the first one and go figure. Gargoyle ambush. Didn't see that coming. No, sir. So you deal with that, wait for a spike trap. You reset, then you go to the next safe space, only to find there's a big hole that drops you into a confusing sewer maze. If you had time to just look around, you'd never fall for such an obvious trap, but we all fell for it. There's actually a small ledge you can stand on without getting hit by the spikes in the safe space, but you have to stop sprinting before getting there. They knew players would be in a rush. They set them up with that first gargoyle to expect another ambush and then surprised everybody with a pit. They knew they didn't even need to hide it. We'd all fall for it anyway, and they were right. And number 2 is Celico. Just try to put in 0451, the looking glass code that appears in pretty much every game looking to get some gamer cred. The code appears in so many games that it's almost expected at this point. If a game has locked doors with keypads, it's going to be a code somewhere. It's gotten to the point where it's almost overused. Like, even games that are only vaguely associated with Looking Glass Studios and immersive sims use that code in them. It's become so common that many players, myself included, just brainlessly put that code in as soon as they come up to a keypad, just in case. The developers behind Celico knew that players were going to do that, but they don't want anything to do with this. So if you input 0451 into any keypad, you immediately take damage. The funny thing is, you can actually keep doing it, and it keeps doing damage to you. And if you do it enough, you'll get an in-game email from the dev team telling you that you need to stop doing it. The email talks about the significance of the code and the fact that the devs loves those games, but they say Celico isn't an immersive sim, so the code's not in the game. I mean, that hasn't stopped anybody from doing it or using it in other games, but yeah. And finally, at number 1, Yakuza 0, doing it for the trophy. They knew. In Yakuza 0, one of the many, many activities you can waste your precious minutes on in this world is watching erotic videos. They're very soft-core video clips of women in lingerie and bikinis just kind of puttering around for a few minutes. If you're alone, it's awkward. If you're playing the game with a significant other, it's really awkward. If your mom walks in, I don't think it's possible for something to be more awkward. That's a code red, and I'm not talking the Mountain Dew flavor. These tapes are embarrassing. There's really not much else to say about them, but for some reason you want to watch them anyway. Not even for the reasons that a person might normally watch an erotic video. For me, it's almost like, all right, what do they think is an erotic video in this game exactly? What can they get away with? What will they actually do? I can't help it. I do that with so many things. Forget erotic videos. You put something in a game that doesn't seem like it's supposed to be there. That's the thing that I want to do something with more than anything. And this game knew that there's people like that. They also knew that there's just straight up people that want to see erotic videos. The devs knew that people were going to check these things out and be deeply embarrassed by checking them out because they were going to get caught by somebody eventually. They all knew there were going to be a lot of people who wanted to get 100% completion. And also, here's a fun thing. That's a requirement for that, which of course is a very nice cover story for people who end up watching them, especially those who get caught. You pervert. The game knew we were all going to watch at least one of these things, though, and they knew we were going to make excuses afterwards, so they gave everybody a built-in excuse. I did it for the trophy/achievement, which is what you get from watching one of these tapes, is the excuse. Oh no, I'm not actually a perv who is also the blandest and most mild perv of all time. I just wanted the achievement. And that's all for today. Leave us a comment, let us know what you think. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week. Best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription. So click subscribe, and don't forget to enable the notifications. As always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter or X or whatever the hell you call it, @FalconTheHero. We'll see you next time, right here on gameranx.